2024, probably our most hectic year so far. I try to veer away from describing anything as a whirlwind, but it really did feel like this year. Fate snatched us away and dragged us to some of the dreamiest destinations around the world. From beach hopping in Batangas to daringly dipping in the devilish pool in Zambia to jumping off a cliff in Zimbabwe to chasing the northern lights in Alaska, in this video, we'll show you 10 of the most unforgettable moments we had on the road. Hey there, Tipiter! We are Vince and Josh. We have been travel blogging for the past 15 years, and this year alone, we have set foot in 14 countries and territories. This year marked our return to Africa and North America, and our first time to cross the Arctic Circle. Needless to say, it's been a year filled with core memories. But before we begin counting down our most unforgettable travel moments this year, if you're new here or you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please take a moment to do just that. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell beside it, and select all so you're always in the know whenever we have new uploads. If you're watching this on Facebook, join our 1 million strong community by liking and following our page too. And if you have travel plans this new year, take note of these promo codes. On Klook, use the Per Traveler Klook for up to 300 pesos off on hotels and activities, good for up to 5 bookings. On KKDay, it's 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐏𝐑𝐄𝐏𝐑𝐀 for up to 550 pesos off on tickets and tours. For Airalo eSIM, use promo code ThePoorTraveler for 15% off. And if you need travel insurance, use promo code WORTHIT for a special rate. Every year, I try to travel with my family abroad. It started out as a treat to my mom. All her life, since she was very young, she worked as a vendor at a public market and never had much of a chance to travel for leisure. So now that I earn enough, I want her to experience the things that I enjoy. Eventually, this expanded to include my other relatives, and this year, we went on a cruise from Hong Kong to Sanya in Hainan Island. This was our second family cruise. The first time was last year when we sailed from Singapore to Penang to Phuket. And they enjoyed it so much that we just had to do it again, this time from Hong Kong. Cruising is the ultimate family getaway because it promises relaxation, ocean views, food, and more food. Also because nothing brings a family closer than sharing let's just say, cozy cabin. After spending 4 days in the middle of the ocean, we spent a few more exploring Hong Kong. You know, the usual suspects: Avenue of Stars, Victoria Peak, Mongkok Shopping, Ngong Ping 360 cable car, and of course, Hong Kong Disneyland. Despite her age, my mom is the FOMO type, so she joins us on almost all the rides, except when it's obviously not suitable for her. If I have to pinpoint a singular moment on this trip that made a mark, it's perhaps this. While waiting for some of our companions to finish settling the bill, we occupied the chairs at the main activity area of the ship. Then, it was announced that they would start playing bingo. We don't normally join games like this on board, but because we didn't want to be forced to leave our chairs, we decided to just join. And guess what? My mom won. It wasn't the prize itself, it wasn't that big, but the shock that we actually won something. The look on my mom's face was priceless. As if it wasn't enough, when they had their raffle minutes later, guess what? Our family also won the biggest prize. It was a lucky night for us. It was on the last night of sailing too, so it felt like the cherry on top. Last summer, our entire team went on a beach hopping tour of Batangas. From the jagged corners of Nasugbu
1, 2, 3!
to the rocky coast of Anilao to the sandy shores of Laia in San Juan. This was part of our effort to create more content for our Philippine-centric channels. If you're wondering why we don't usually feature domestic destinations here at The Poor Traveler, it's because we have a separate channel for it. Subscribe to Philippine Beach List here on YouTube. It's quite new. But on Facebook, we already have 1.3 million followers, and it's called Philippine Beaches and Beyond. Anyway, our tour started in Calayo, tucked away in Nasugbu. But there was a reason we chose this as our first stop. Years ago, we went island hopping here too. Our boatman then was Marvin, who was just operating somebody else's boat. We had a great tour, so I got his number and published it on our website for those who want to have the same experience. That was it. But then, years later, towards the end of the pandemic, I received a message from Marvin sharing with us that our post had steadily brought him guests, and that over the years, he earned enough from his tours to build a house and buy a new boat. He invited us again to Calayo to express his appreciation in person. And so we all went down to Nasugbu to check out his new boat and of course, hire him again. We travel because it's fun and in our case because it's also our job. That's the truth. But it is moments like this that remind us that we as tourists and as content creators can also help locals along the way. Taiwan is slowly climbing up our list of most visited destinations, and yet, on every visit, we experience something new. This year, we visited Taiwan twice. The first was in April when we explored Yilan and New Taipei City mostly. Then, upon the invitation of the Taipei City Government Tourism Department, we returned to see Taipei's most underrated attractions. We visited Taipei's most scenic temple overlooking the city, and then the next day, we set foot in another otherworldly temple with winding caves carved into the mountain, a former dump site turned into a birdwatcher's paradise, a trendy cafe district close to a Michelin-approved food spot, and a graffiti street that looks like it came from an otaku's fever dream. But perhaps our most unforgettable moment in Taiwan this year was our hunt for a viewpoint along the Jiantanshan Trail. This hiking trail is hidden in the mountains of the Shilin district, behind the Grand Hotel Taipei. It's not very popular, frequented only by a few locals. Even our guide had never been here before, and none of us had any idea what this viewpoint looked like. All we knew was that there was one. And while the trail was paved and beginner-friendly, it branches out at many spots. So it was quite challenging to find our way, especially that we didn't know exactly what we were looking for. We found a rest stop, a gym, and a shrine, but not the viewpoint. The sun was already setting, and in the dwindling light, I could see that Vince and our local guide Nelly were exhausted. So I volunteered to look for it on my own and fetch them as soon as I found it. And I did. I wasn't sure in the beginning if it was real or hallucination, but, well, it was real. Andito. So, I need to tell them na nahanap na natin yung viewpoint. Over there. Yes. I'm just not sure if I imagined it. But there is. I saw something. I saw something. Whether or not it's real is the question, but I saw something. That's real. It had been a long while since we got lost during a hike, so it was pretty memorable. We've been in and out of Bangkok over the past few years, but this year, there were some things that we were finally able to do for the first time. We finally explored Talat Noi, finally tried staying in Bang Rak, finally shopped at the Bangkok premium outlets, and after numerous attempts, we got to try J5's cooking. It wasn't as good as we were expecting and way too expensive, but at least we got to try it at long last. But the real highlight of our last Bangkok trip was the Pride March. You see, when Bangkok throws a party, you know it's going to slay. And spoiler alert, it did. TikTok invited us along with a few other content creators to represent the Philippines at the Bangkok Pride Parade. So, we had our game face on, and with rainbow face paints and a level of enthusiasm we usually reserve for videoke or cocktail sessions, we hit the streets ready to march. The crowd was electric, filled with all kinds of people. Drag queens, families showing support, and first-timers like me just trying not to cry from all the love in the air. Even brands offer special rainbow-themed products. Some of the biggest malls like Icon Siam, Siam Paragon, and Siam Center are decorated all over with Pride eleganza to match the occasion. This was our first Pride March, and it felt apt that it happened here in Bangkok, one of the warmest and friendliest city towards the 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐏𝐻𝐻+ community. On top of that, this trip will always have a special place in our hearts because it's where we met Jax and Krisa, who became two of our closest friends this year.
Wait! Welcome to Vancouver!
Back in 2017, when I first set foot in Canada, one of my closest college friends gave me a threat that went like this. Next time you visit Canada without seeing me, I'm gonna you. You see, I had a lot of college friends who are now based in Canada, and so when we realized we'd be Alaska bound, I made sure we'd be dropping by Vancouver, where two of my friends currently reside. And it always feels good to be reunited with close friends, whom we had not seen in 18 years. Mao showed us around Yaletown, hopping from a taco place to an ice cream parlor to a beer brewery, while Mace joined us on a walk from the Canada Place to Gastown to Science World, and all the way back to Davie Village. Talk about making the most of our limited time. Our original plan was just to meet friends and probably pig out in the city center, and pig out we did. Turned out that Vancouver has countless fantastic Asian restaurants, but we also couldn't help but venture out to the mountains. We joined a full-day tour that took us to Grouse Mountain, and we boarded this gondola to the top where we met Grinder and Kula, two bears. Not what you're thinking. Grinder and Kula are the names of these two orphan grizzly bears. Also, we hopped onto a chairlift for a breathtaking view of the surrounding areas. And then we headed to the Capilano suspension bridge, but were more enthralled by the treetop and cliffside walks. We stayed in Vancouver for only 5 days, but as early as day 1, it already made it to our list of favorite cities. Speaking of favorite cities, New York is another city that was an instant hit for us. We expected NYC to be everything the movies and songs portray. You know, land of bagels, yellow cabs, concrete jungles where dreams are made of, there's nothing you can't do. But let's just say that it hit different. Every morning, we joined a free walking tour of its many districts. Every afternoon, we raided its extremely packed museums. And every night was Broadway night. 6 shows in what might as well have been a theatrical marathon. And by the end of every day, our legs were crying louder than 𝐓𝐷 in defying gravity. Yes, we caught 6 shows, but only 2 of those we booked in advance. For the rest, we queued up at the opening of box office in hopes of getting our hands on rush tickets, and we succeeded each time. So yes, we saw Chicago featuring Alyssa Milano as Roxy Hart and her killer moves. We stayed after the show to get her autograph too. We also thoroughly enjoyed Hamilton from start to finish. The cast was flawless, the rap battles were fire, and yes, we sang Satisfied all the way back to the hotel. We were also blown away by the magic of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It was like watching a movie and a magic show at the same time. We were on the fence on whether or not to see Sunset Boulevard, but coming from another show, we passed by Savoy Theater and saw Nicole Scherzinger signing playbills. Everyone around us was raving about her Olivier-winning performance. So, we decided to see it too. And we did. And she was phenomenal. The whole production was great, marrying film and theater, 2 artworks that I revere. But Nicole's Norma Desmond made it even more electrifying. The 2 shows we booked in advance were the first and the last productions we saw in New York. The latter was Romeo and Juliet, starring Rachel Zegler and Kit Connor. But the most memorable was our very first Broadway musical ever, Wicked.
It's our first Broadway show. So, excited kami. Yun ang una namin papanoorin. Siyempre, Wicked. Ito talaga yung goal ko na mangyari. Dito sa New York, kapanood kami ng Broadway show. Kami dalawa ni Yosh.
Our seats were great, and our Glinda and 𝐓𝐷 were both amazing. It was so good that we found ourselves singing Wicked songs the entire time we were in New York, even after seeing the 5 other shows. Popular had us humming for days and for good left us emotionally bothered even after we're back home in the Philippines. In particular though, the defying gravity number wherein 𝐓𝐷 rose from the stage and reached all the high notes and emotions just before Act 1 closed was a scene that has lived rent-free in my head since. By the end of our Broadway binge, we were delirious but blissful. 6 shows, countless standing ovations, and enough emotional whiplash to last a lifetime. New York City, you never disappoint. Almost 20 years ago, I wasn't a travel blogger then. I came up with a list of the cities I wanted to visit, and Cape Town was in that list only because I was blown away by it in pictures. But now, we finally set foot here, And I'm telling you, Cape Town gave us wonderful moments etched in our memory forever. Without a doubt, Cape Town is the most scenic, highly urbanized city we've seen so far. But what it offers goes beyond its picture-perfect views. It was hard to pick just one moment because we've had a lot. We circled the Table Mountain in style on a Harley-Davidson bike. We flew above the city on a helicopter. We reached the Cape of Good Hope, something we only used to read about in high school. We met the super-duper cute African penguins on Boulder Beach. But perhaps the most memorable was our sunset cruise. Imagine you're on a boat, the sun is setting over the Atlantic, and you're sailing past the iconic Table Mountain. But it wasn't just the sights for us, it was the full sensory experience. Although we were sharing the boat with other tourists, it wasn't too crowded or loud. The waves weren't strong, just swaying gently, and the air was filled with the soothing melodies of Seal's Love is Divine and the romantic stylings of Kenny Lattimore's For You. And yes, lest I forget, with a glass of champagne in one hand. All these while you're surrounded by Cape Town's gorgeous peaks, the sky transforms into a canvas of pinks, purples, and fiery oranges, and you're in the company of your favorite person in the whole wide world. Victoria Falls, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It is one of those places that I'd always wanted to see since I was a kid. I don't know, I was just mesmerized by its expansive water curtain, but it turned out Victoria Falls offers more than the sights. As we said in our previous video about it, it's got waterfalls that roar, wildlife that wow, languages that click, and insane activities that left us breathless, sometimes almost literally. We cruised down the Zambezi River at sunset while admiring the wildlife it nurtures and indulging in hors d'oeuvres and African-inspired cocktails. We visited a family in Monde Village to learn more about the local culture. We had a bird's eye view of the Victoria Falls on the first helicopter ride of our lives. We had our first evening game drive and even jumped off a cliff and swung back and forth while taking in all the to die for views of the gorge. But none of those compared to the thrill of hugging this edge of the Devil's Pool on top of Victoria Falls itself. To do this, we had to cross over from Zimbabwe to Zambia at the crack of dawn, hopped onto a boat, and headed out to Livingstone Island. The air was chilly enough, but then comes the real kicker, the freezing water. The cold was hitting us from all directions, and the sight was constantly reminding us that we're literally on the edge of a 100-meter drop. After braving the current and getting a few heart-stopping photos at the very edge, we could officially say we'd taken a swim in the world's craziest infinity pool. This was something I will never ever forget. Our trip to Victoria Falls and some parts of South Africa were made possible by Constellation Travels Inc., one of the most established travel agencies in the Philippines. While Cape Town and Victoria Falls can be both explored DIY, if you'd rather have a stress-free rest and relaxation, best to book a package tour, and Constellation Travels offer those. Just visit their official website, constellationtravels.com.ph, or contact them at these numbers and email address for more info.
Wait! Hindi akin, hindi iyo. Kanino?
Kenya!
This trip was not part of our 2024 plans at all, but our friends Tonette and Mace wanted to go on a safari tour in Kenya, and they needed more companions to bring the cost down. The bigger the group, the lower the per-person cost. Vince and I realized it was also in our best interest to do this trip now as part of a bigger group than later on our own, and it was a great decision. Vince and I flew to Kenya ahead of everyone so we could tour Nairobi first before driving to and around the national parks. The timing was not perfect because at the time, a lot of protests were happening in the streets of Nairobi, but thankfully, most of our stay in Kenya was outside of the city. Most safari trips have one goal: to see the so-called Big Five, or the 5 most sought-after African animals in the wild. We had our first in Amboseli National Park, in the shadows of Mount Kilimanjaro, where elephants reign supreme. We also got our first glimpse of Cape buffaloes and lions here. Next, we headed to Lake Nakuru, a haven for rhinos. In Masai Mara, we had an even closer encounter with more lions. And when I say up close, I mean up close. These majestic cats treated our safari vehicle like a new piece of furniture, lounging and chilling in the shade, oblivious of people stealing selfies with them. But the most elusive of them all was the leopard. Just as we were about to give up hope, there it was, a sleek spotted beauty trying to take a nap under a bush, completely unbothered by our excitement. This dude here marked the completion of our Big 5 adventure. We spent 6 days driving around Kenya and another 3 in South Africa's Kruger National Park, where we spotted 3 more leopards in under 2 hours. But the absolute highest peak of our time in Africa was not when we're driving on land, but when we were literally floating above it. Yes, we availed of a hot air balloon ride in Masai Mara, even if it meant waking up at ungodly 2:45 a.m. But we had to start flying before the break of dawn, and if the sunrise views are not enough, throw in a misty atmosphere, zebras grazing, and wildebeests marching in line, and suddenly, sleep feels overrated. And after the ride, we had a hearty breakfast and a glass of champagne to celebrate, well, I'm not sure what we were celebrating exactly, but maybe completing the ride alive and just being here, surrounded by pure magic that is Africa. Something that no amount of sleep deprivation or financial regret can take away. Let's start with the cold hard truth. Not all Aurora hunting stories end in glory. Ours didn't, at least not the first time. In fact, 8 years ago back in Iceland, we spent 7 long nights watching the sky that treated us to a spectacular view of absolutely nothing. Nothing but clouds and darkness and the newfound resentment for weather. But as they say, the Aurora works in mysterious ways and Alaska more than made up for it. We were in Alaska because of 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐏𝐻𝐑𝐄𝐋 Summit North America. 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐏𝐻 is perhaps the largest conference for travel bloggers. In 2022, I was invited as a closing keynote speaker in 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐏𝐻 Asia in Thailand. And the following year, 2023, I was asked to deliver another keynote speech at 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐏𝐻 Europe in Greece. But this year, I wasn't invited as a speaker, but more like as an industry expert, sort of a panelist for 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐏𝐻 Summit North America held in Anchorage. And since we were already in Alaska, we thought it would be a great opportunity for our Aurora redemption. And the city of Fairbanks seems to be the perfect place for it. Thanks to its location under the Auroral Oval and an impressive number of clear nights, it's basically the overachiever of Aurora hunting. So, we arrived with sky-high expectations and a small voice whispering, "What if elusive Miss Aurora ghosts us again, just like in Iceland?" Thankfully, she didn't. I'm not exaggerating when I say we saw the Aurora every single night, and it wasn't like a faint glimmer or a swaying gray blob in the sky. Fairbanks showed off. Every single evening in Fairbanks, the Aurora put on a different kind of performance. One night, it was gentle and dreamy, swirling slowly as if it were painting the sky in slow motion. Another night, it was a full-blown rave, pulsing and flickering to an imaginary beat. The sky filled with scribbles in bright neon green and sometimes with a touch of pink and purple. It was the most amazing thing I've seen. It was as though Miss Aurora was a cosmic shimmering friend who has a flair for drama and loves being the center of attention, making up for lost time. Fairbanks doesn't just promise the Aurora, it delivers night after glorious night. So here's the second chances and destinations that make you believe in magic all over again. And that, tipiters, is why it sits comfortably at number 1. Which of these attractions on the list have you experienced before or would love to experience in the future? Tell us in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. Tap on the bell icon too and then select all so you're always updated when we upload new episodes. If our videos inspire you to travel, follow and tag us on Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok. Just look up at The Poor Traveler, _L. We'll try to repost or reply to your tags. That's all for now. Remember, plan smart, travel safe, and make every trip worth it.